All right, we are live. Hello to all of you out there. Thanks for joining us tonight. Um, as always, as I get some stuff ready here, you could support this channel by going to patreon.com/Hemmett. You can go to friendlyatheist.com and subscribe for free there. I would appreciate that as well. And I have Den here tonight who is helping out with comments and everything else behind the scenes. So, yeah, leave a comment below and we will get to it in between stories. I'm gonna try to get to as many of these as I can tonight. It's Thursday. I know it's not our usual time, but whatever. Um, Let me start off this week with it's almost a low stakes story, but it kind of made me laugh because of the rabbit hole it took me down. And here's what's going on. Basically, like a year and a half ago, a guy named Steve Duke, was in Thomaston, Georgia. He wanted to open up a business there. He called his place Duke's Wine and Spirits. It's one of those places you could buy alcohol, wine, all that good stuff. And so when you go through the process of opening up a business like that, not only do you need approval from the city, you have to get a liquor license that's approved by the state. Nothing weird about that. That's just those are the hoops you have to jump through. And it looked like everything was on track and everything was fine. The city was fully on board with his new business. I think this is a relatively rural area. So it's like, oh, you want to bring a business to our community? Go right ahead. We're right there with you. Thank you. Pay your taxes. So everything was fine. And then last April, before the store was ready to be open, he's in the process of building it, stocking it, and all that. A church opened up like right down the street. And then a few months later, like toward the end of last summer, another church moved somewhere else down the street. And none of that would be a problem, except there is a law in Georgia. This is, what is this? The Georgia Code. It's still in effect here. But look at this right here. No person, knowingly and intentionally, may sell or offer to sell any distilled spirits, alcohol, in or within 100 yards of any church building, or within 200 yards of any school building, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, Georgia has a law saying you can't have a liquor store near a church. The church can't be 100 yards uh, in the proximity of your building. And according to a local newspaper, where were these churches located? Well, it turns out, let's see. I'm going to fix this if it doesn't work. The state cited proximity to two churches. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll get back to the denial in a second, but just look at this. Renovation Outreach Ministries is 71 yards away. Faith Tabernacle Ministries is 85 yards away. So Georgia says you can't have an alcohol store within 100 yards of a church. And here are two churches that are like, you're opening a what now? Well, we're going to plant our shops like right next to yours. So that raises an interesting question. Did the churches launch in that area specifically to stop this guy from opening up his liquor store? Or was it just a weird coincidence, like twice? And one of the things that I saw on Facebook is that this guy has very clearly not fallen into any conspiracy theories about this. This is one thing he said on Facebook. I'm scrolling down because it's a long message. Are there unusual circumstances that appear to be outside of what one would consider coincidental? Absolutely, there have been, but there is no proof. He can't prove the churches moved there just to stop him from opening up his business, but it sure seems a little weird. And after all that, when he was applying for his liquor license, this is what the state pointed out. Um, by the way, when a local newspaper attempted to talk to one of those pastors, just to ask them, like, did you guys move here just to stop this place from opening up? I want to show you uh, what this place said. If I can open it up, oh, come back. I just had this here. Here we go. Let me share this with you because this is what the owner of the church said. Faith Tabernacle Ministries pastor Kevin Hobbs helps lead his congregation of about 25 parishioners. They worship every Sunday and Thursday across from Duke's business. Hobbs explained that what happens next is a separation of church and state. I take a stand against alcohol because that's what my faith is. But this ain't up to me. Like, it kind of is, though. You're the one that decided to open up, like, right there. The newspaper, the local news, rather, they could not get in touch with the other pastor. But again, I say it kind of is in this pastor's hands because it's not like Duke's store was a secret. Hobbs, the pastor, did not seem to care that Steve Duke is a self-described person of faith. He is an unabashed Christian. It also didn't seem to matter to the pastor that no one is forcing anyone in the community to buy anything they don't want. I mean, if anything, you should put your church 101 yards away from a liquor store because all those people in this church are going to need a place to go after services on Sunday. So here's the thing. Here's what's not in dispute. Who got there first? Steve Duke did with his wine and spirits store. And the city of Thomaston approved everything so he could open his business. They approved the local liquor license well before the churches got there. So he didn't do anything wrong. The city seemed to do everything correctly. But the opening of the store is kind of contingent upon the State Department of Revenue approving the liquor license on their end. And when officials there got the paperwork, they said no. They said no specifically because of the proximity of the churches. This is what Steve Duke wrote on Facebook in the end of 2023. We were, in fact, denied our initial request for a liquor license by the state of Georgia. The reason given was our proximity to two recently located churches that fall within the minimum distance of our building. So, like, that's why the state said no to this guy, which means he can't open his store, which means he just wasted a lot of money that went into trying to get this place open. One thing I found really surprising is how many people were on this guy's side because people in the city of Thomaston actually wrote a letter to state officials saying, you got to approve this guy's liquor license because we want him in our city. We want the store in our city. Check this out. This is from the Upson Beacon local newspaper. I'll show you this right here. Look at who signed this letter. Reportedly, the city manager, the mayor, the county commission chairman, Georgia state representative, and another Georgia state senator all contacted the Georgia Department of Revenue on Duke's behalf, saying, look, listen, all of us at all levels of state government here and local government, we're all on this guy's side. So if the state's not going to listen to all those people, like, what the hell? What's wrong with them? So it's kind of worth looking back at what that pastor said. He said, this ain't up to me. It kind of is, because after all those city officials signed on to this letter, they also asked this pastor if he would sign the letter, and he chose not to do it. They literally said, hey, pastor, listen, you're the reason this guy can't have his liquor store. Will you sign this piece of paper letting the state know, listen, we're fine with it. He was here first. Don't hold up his store on account of us being here. And he refused to do that. In fact, he then posted a video on Facebook about 2 weeks ago explaining that Steve Duke and city officials asked him to sign this piece of paper because it might have changed the state's mind and persuaded those state officials to do what Duke needed. And I'm not going to play it for you because it goes on for like 20 minutes or something. But one of the things he says in there, this pastor, is, quote, I couldn't do it. I responded, I cannot sign the letter. We cannot condone alcohol. We don't condone the consumption of alcohol, as the Bible tells us. And then he went on to say drinking alcohol destroys homes, communities, your work ethic. And then he talked about the dangers of drunk driving. And listen, no one is saying excessive alcohol, underage drinking doesn't lead to problems. Of course it does. So do a lot of things when you don't take them in moderation. And again, no one's forcing this guy or his church members to drink any of it. But listen to what he's saying. He's like, well, my religion tells me alcohol is bad. So that means none of y'all can have it. So I'm not going to sign the letter. Um, at no point in the video did this guy acknowledge that other people have the right to make their own decisions or that he's the dude standing in the way of it. And after all this became public, there were like little protests in Duke's defense outside his store. Let me show you this picture because I really liked it. This is the little protest outside his store. Look at what the signs say. Here first. Duke's was first. Bad form. And the one right above my head here. Duke's was here first. There's another one too that I really liked from this guy. Do what's right. Though to be fair, it doesn't really imply which side is correct here, but he is on the side of Duke and telling state officials to do what's right and let this man have his store. And the reason I bring all this up, by the way, I should say the local newspaper, the local news, I should say, they spoke to some of those people at the protests. And one lady said, I'm a Christian. I've been in church my whole life. I understand where they're coming from, but this is wrong. Steve Duke, has done absolutely everything right and by the book. Another friend of Duke's said, opening a business is not a sin. Let me show you this. This was a letter to the editor in the local newspaper. Steve Dukes deserves our support. I don't know why everyone keeps saying Dukes. There's no S in the guy's last name. Anyway, look at what this person wrote. This is Sherry Eubanks. She may be a friend of his, but anyway, look at what she wrote in this letter because it's really nice. It's a really good letter. Speaking of heaven, she's talking about the churches getting in the way here. Why aren't these churches willing to assist by simply providing a letter stating that they have no opposition to him opening to the Department of Revenue? It's my understanding that's all it would take to get their license issued. Both churches knew he was renovating his building well before either of them showed up. There's a huge sign in front of the building that's been there since the renovation started, stating as such. It says Duke's Wine and Spirits. It makes me suspicious of what their motivation is, or frankly, who may be behind it. Whatever the motivation, it certainly isn't very Christ-like. And then, oh, my favorite part here. It'd be nice if someone from one of these many local churches they've supported over the years would have the courage to speak up on their behalf, especially a pastor. Do the right thing for goodness sake. You'll take their time and money, but won't speak up on behalf of their character. No one is asking you to speak up in support of alcohol. But as a Christian, aren't you called to speak out on behalf of what is right? Step up, says Sherry Eubanks in favor of Steve Duke getting his liquor license. This is also interesting. So after all that, the local news, oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun here. I got to show you one more thing. There was even a billboard. There was a billboard saying, give Dukes their license. They were here first. And you got to love that Chick-fil-A logo is right there. There's a Chick-fil-A and then this billboard. That's gorgeous. So anyway, all these people are complaining. The local news is reporting it. Everyone in the city, except for like one pastor who thinks his job is to stop everybody from sinning, and only one type of sin, because he allows all the other ones to go through. All these people are like, what the hell is the state doing? And when the local news said, we want to get shots of these protesters in front of your store who are on Steve Duke's side, we want to talk to this pastor. He won't talk to us, but we are going to do a story on this. They filmed everything. And then apparently they told Steve Duke, like, well, we're not going to air this yet because we're still trying to get in touch with government officials because we want to get their side of the story. And about one day before their story was going to go on the air, we got a little bit of news here. And this is, I want to show you this news. Where did it go? Of course, it's gone now as I go to look for this. But of course, you know where I'm going with this. Before 11 Alive aired their story, the state decided to reverse its decision. They will give Steve Duke his liquor license after all. They did not explain what the reason was. So it sure as hell seems like it was the bad publicity. And Steve Duke posted this on Facebook then. Now that the cat's officially out of the bag, I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting us throughout this process. Your kind gestures haven't gone unnoticed. Hopefully, we can return the favor someday by offering you something truly unique in our store. It's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster over the last few months, so y'all are going to have to excuse me while I enjoy a refreshing cocktail on the porch. We'll see you at the grand opening in a few weeks. Good for this guy. And good for the local news for reporting on this. And no thanks to the one pastor who was trying to get in the way of it. I did reach out to the pastor a few days ago to say, like, did you purposely try to stop this place from opening? And like, I want to ask him about the hypocrisy. Like, why aren't you protesting outside a grocery store and saying they shouldn't be opening? Because some people might buy a lot of food and gluttony is a sin, right? I wanted to ask him about that sort of stuff. He never got back to me. I don't think he wants to talk about this. But I'd really like to hear his response now that the liquor store is going to open, because I have a feeling that members of his church are going to be like first in line to need some of that stuff. But anyway, at least there's a happy ending to that story. Good for Steve Duke. I'm glad that is getting that story got the attention that it needed. I'm going to pause there for a bit to take some questions. They're doing this in London as well with mosques. Do you mean they are not allowing certain stores to open if it contradicts like their version of Islam? Like, I assume that's what you mean by that. Again, I kind of understand the gist of the law, except I don't know why. I get why they would say you got to be within a certain distance away from a school, a public school or something, because there's kids involved. I don't really know why anyone cares if there's a church next door. Like, they're adults, they can have their building. You can have both of those on the same block. It's okay. I'm not sure who we're trying to protect here. So, I mean, all these laws, whether they are like, what are they called? Like the blue laws that don't allow you to sell alcohol on a Sunday morning, which some cities have, or just this law, which you can't open up a store if there's a church nearby. They're archaic. They shouldn't be around anymore. The same thing happened in my hometown. An existing store got a license to sell alcohol. The store was just far enough away from a church. The church expanded. My town caved though because of the money. I That doesn't surprise me in the least. I wouldn't be surprised if all that's accurate. This is a free economy. The church should have no say where someone opens up a business. Yeah, and it's weird that it's not like they're giving the church a veto power, any veto power here, but they are saying there's a law that if the church wants to open up, you don't get to if you're selling a thing we don't like. As if that should have any sort of difference. Like, whatever, no one's stopping the church from opening up. Like, it's a dumb idea because you're not going to get taxes from them, but like, no one's stopping the church from opening, but why should their existence stop someone else from opening up a legal business? It's weird. Looking forward to seeing you in real life this weekend. This weekend is the We Can Reason conference in Western Canada in Calgary. So if you're in the area, you can Google that. You could find information on that conference. They have some really good speakers. I'm excited to be there. So Darren, I look forward to seeing you this weekend too. Thanks for becoming a YouTube member, Jason. I appreciate that. Everyone, like and subscribe and all that stuff. And again, you can go to friendlyatheist.com for free. Yes, look at that. Yes, press the like button as you would a grape into wine. Love it, Den. Thank you. I'm gonna then jump to the next story, which is this is a really big deal, and I want to talk about this because it's a big deal. Give me a second to set up shop here and close some of these other tabs. Here we go. So this week actually saw some huge news for the United Methodist Church. And this may seem like a major shift for them in the right direction. This week, they officially got rid of their ban on gay clergy members. Here is the headline from the New York Times: United Methodist Church reverses ban on practicing gay clergy. I like the wording of that. It's like this is a thing they practice every week. But no, basically, the previous law, according to the United Methodist Church, said if you're a gay person in a relationship, or you're a gay person who has sex and you're like not ashamed of it because you're whatever, for whatever reason, you're not allowed to be a clergy member in the UMC. And that has been the rule for a really long time. And this week they said to hell with that rule. If someone is gay and we want to ordain them and make them a reverend or whatever, like so be it. No one cares. Okay, so that's the long and short of it. That is huge news. That is a big deal. Maybe what's also surprising is they also voted during this week's general conference to ban any punishments for clergy who perform same-sex ceremonies. So in the past, depending on where you were working, you could have been punished if you celebrated, performed a gay wedding. So the thing is, with these revisions that happened this week, there really wasn't any debate. It wasn't even a close vote. Check this out. According to Religion News Service, the vote to make these changes is kind of amazing here. Look at this. The vote on the calendar was 692 to 51. 93% of the delegates voted in favor of making this change. That is wild to me, and I will talk about why that happened in just a second. And the last thing about why this is so surprising is that they didn't even just vote on this issue. It was so non-controversial and everyone knew it was going to pass that they literally clumped it together with like 100 other things. And they're like, hey, see this clump of laws of changes we want to make? Is everyone cool with all 100 of these? And 93% of the delegates are like, yeah, just all of that's fine. And they weren't tricked or anything. They knew what was in there. But it was that not much of a non-issue, which is kind of amazing. So here's the thing about this. It feels like it's too little, too late. And I will get to that in a second. Let me try to give some background on why this is kind of a historic change, but why I also don't think any of this is going to make any bit of difference here. So if you're not familiar with the United Methodist Church, it is the second largest Protestant denomination in the country. I think a few years ago, they had more than 12 million members worldwide. The number one largest Protestant denomination would be Southern Baptists. There are lots of Catholics out there too. But then it's the Methodists in the United States. And for years now, they've been dealing with this internal schism over the question of bigotry. Should we allow gay people, practicing gay people, to be ordained as priests? Should we allow them to bless same-sex marriages? And you know what? I'm glad they were fighting about that because some relationships need to end in divorce. This was a family fighting amongst itself, right? The big argument, as I already mentioned, should we ordain gay members? Should we allow same-sex wedding ceremonies? And the majority of UMC churches in the United States seem to be pretty fine with it. Their idea was, you know what? Why don't you let each church decide whatever the hell they want to do with it, and everyone will just be cool with that. Not exactly the most progressive answer, but they said, who cares? If this church doesn't feel comfortable doing it, no one's forcing them to. But at the same time, if my Methodist church is fine with it, can you just let us ordain whoever we want to ordain? And to be clear, other parts of the world, the Methodists outside the United States are overwhelmingly anti-gay. So they didn't want any of this change happening. So this is part of the split, because you have a lot of the American churches saying one thing, you have a lot of Methodist churches outside the US saying a different thing, and it's really hard to find a compromise that anyone is happy with. So in 2019, this kind of came to a head because they had this conference 5 years ago. And they were wondering, well, what are we going to do about this? And I will show you what happened at this conference 5 years ago. This is from the UMC's website. Let me see if this will pull up here. Yeah, you could see this here. The traditional plan. Whoa, come back. There we go. The traditional plan was passed by the 2019 special session of General Conference. This means our current statements about homosexuality, same-sex marriage, and the ordination of LGBTQ persons have not fundamentally changed. So 5 years ago, they said, we agree, no gay people, no openly practicing gay people can be priests, no gay marriages, anything like that. And that plan got passed by 53% of the delegates. And I want you to look at that number for a second. The traditional plan 5 years ago passed with 53% of the votes. What happened this week? The traditional plan was repealed with 93% of the votes. What the hell happened between then and now? Well, I will tell you what happened between then and now. One of the things that happened 5 years ago is after they approved the traditional plan, they gave church leaders about 5 years, 4 years, to make a decision about whether they want to be part of the United Methodist Church or not. And what ended up happening is a lot of pro LGBTQ churches had to make a decision now that this law was in the rule book. Do you accept the bigoted rules and say goodbye to LGBTQ leaders in relationships and people who want to perform same sex unions and like all the young people who would never voluntarily join a bigoted denomination? Or do you say, fine, then we quit the UMC and we're going to run a church on our own with no support from any of you? That was an option that was on the table. At the same time, a bunch of those progressive, relatively progressive UMC churches said, you know what? No, we're going to fight for change from the inside. So we're going to stay members of the UMC, but we're not going to follow your rules. We're going to ordain gay priests anyway. We are going to bless same sex wedding ceremonies. And you know what? Come after us if you don't like it. So you had this little rebellious spirit going on. And then you had conservative churches in the United Methodist Church saying, hey, those guys are breaking the rules. Are you going to punish them? And the answer was no, they're not really in the mood to punish any of those other churches. So all these conservative UMC churches said, fine, then we're leaving, even though we got that traditional plan passed. We're quitting because you don't seem to be taking this bigotry thing seriously enough. So what ended up happening is the worst people you know started leaving the United Methodist Church. The rebel progressives stayed within the fold, and they all kind of just went ahead. And then the pandemic happened and other things were on people's minds. But this is basically what happened. And it's not easy, by the way, to leave the United Methodist Church because it's kind of like one of those fast food chains that has rules for franchisees. Because if you want to go do your own thing separately, which is what a lot of these conservative churches were doing, you have to, I'm going to make sure I get this right, you have to pay 2 years worth of church dues. You have to fund your pension obligations for your staff. And what about all the financial help the UMC was giving your church? You don't get that anymore. And all these conservative churches are like, you know what? We don't care. We'll pay whatever fine you want us to pay, but we're out of here because you guys aren't bigoted enough for the rest of us. And this actually made a lot of news a few years ago because a lot of UMC churches were disappearing. This is a headline from NPR. Congregations leave, this is from 2023. Congregations leave United Methodist Church over defiance of LGBTQ bans. This is another one from The Guardian. Check this out. This is from last year as well. Hundreds more U.S. United Methodist congregations disaffiliate among LGBTQ plus tensions. And look at that subhead there. Over 7,000 congregations have been approved to break away since 2019. And I'll give you some numbers just because this is fun to talk about. Last November, the UMC's North Georgia Conference, which is about 700 churches in the upper half of Georgia, they said, well, 261 of our churches want to leave. And they said, all right, bye. So 261 of those churches left. And The Guardian put it at the time here. Check this out. That move was interpreted as conservative congregations choosing to leave rather than debate or accept the views of the more moderate factions within the church. Okay, so that's what happened in North Georgia. Well, guess what happened in South Georgia. The South Georgia Conference, 193 churches left. That left only 274 still in the fold. By the way, the United Methodist Church in Iowa, 59 congregations left last year, and that was months after 83 already left. And in fact, here's the nerdiest thing about all this. I could show you the spreadsheet. The United Methodist Church keeps a damn spreadsheet of all this. Uh, disaffiliations approved by annual conferences. And let's just gloriously look at this. This is each of their regions. It's kind of like a Catholic diocese of sorts. And they're saying, for example, the Alabama West Florida Conference. Well, in 2021, 8 of our churches left. In 2022, 4 churches left. In 2022, during a special time, 35 left. Oh, look what happened in 2023. 201 churches left. They were so mad that the UMC was not upholding the bigotry. Let's scroll all the way down, though, because you could see the trend. 2023 was a bad year for the UMC. The bottom line is, look at this cumulative total here. 7,658 churches have left the UMC since 2019. And the question you should be asking is, okay, 7,658, how many churches were in the UMC? The answer is about 30,000, which means about a quarter of the UMC churches got the hell out of there, most of them being the conservative ones that really wanted to go all in on anti-gay bigotry, all because of this controversy. So this means one of the largest Christian denominations in the country is shrinking, which means they are less powerful, all because they were divided on whether gay clergy members and same-sex relationships deserved approval and acceptance. And now this week, because all those bigots have left the fold, you saw what happened. This is from Religion News Service here. United Methodist strike down ban on ordination of gay clergy. They took the vote again. The bigots were already gone. 93% of the delegates said, yeah, let's just approve this because this is what most of us want anyway, which is very interesting. So the ban on gay clergy, gone. The ban on performing same-sex weddings, gone. There was even a ban on funding causes that promote acceptance of homosexuality, which is kind of like saying the UMC was funding LGBTQ accepting ministries and they were banning that. That got overturned as well. Okay, now I will pontificate here. I don't think any of this will make a difference. I know there are activists who worked really hard within the UMC to make this happen, and good for them. I'm genuinely proud of them for getting this done because it's not easy, especially when you don't think this change is going to happen. So kudos to them for fighting the good fight here. The question I'm trying to figure out is, who is going to suddenly join the United Methodist Church now that they have made this move? Was there really a line of people clamoring to get in except for the bigotry? And now that the bigotry is officially off the books, they're going to join their local Methodist church. I just find that hard to believe that we're talking about a sizable number of people, because after all, progressive UMC churches were already defying the old rules. Conservatives were leaving because the UMC wasn't enforcing its rules. And now that the rules have changed, I don't know it's going to make a difference. Those conservative churches, by the way, have already formed their own group. They call it the Global Methodist Church, which is silly. And by the way, UMC churches elsewhere in the world, they're allowed to impose their own rules in their own regions, which means this move isn't as progressive as we think it is. But my point is, like, I don't know who are the young people that are like, well, I guess I'll call myself a Methodist now. I cannot believe for the life of me, young people are suddenly going to flock to UMC churches because it's finally doing the right thing, kind of, sort of, more than a decade after even like Democrats in Congress came around on the issue. Like, come on, how are they beating you on this? And if anything, what's going to happen to the UMC now that they've taken this vote? Well, if there were any remaining conservative churches in the UMC, you know they're going to get out of here. Like, if they were waiting, hoping the church would finally take this issue seriously, well, they're in for a disappointment because the seriously is that they're now on board with LGBTQ rights in a way. So there was a pastor who was quoted in the New York Times article about this. He said something I found really interesting. Uh, check this out here. This is Rob Renfro. He is the president of Good News, a traditionalist caucus within the United Methodist Church. So he's a conservative in the UMC who hasn't left yet. And look what he says now. He's attending the meeting in Charlotte this week, but says that given the outcome of the vote, he will leave the denomination within the next month. He cautioned that many denominations that have moved in the direction that Methodists have taken this week have seen their numbers dramatically decline. As the church becomes more and more liberal, and if a social agenda becomes its driving force, that's not going to grow the church. And I think he's like mostly wrong, but kind of right about one thing, which is, yeah, a lot of Methodist churches are shrinking. A lot of them. Why? Because so many people are walking away from organized religion. We know that. That's not because of this policy. It's for the same reason a lot of people are ditching organized religion. Yeah, the bigotry is a part of it, but also they don't believe in God anymore. They see this as dangerous to their mental health. They don't like what other positions the churches hold. So, like, yeah, Methodist churches are shrinking, but that's not because they're liberal. It's because it's an organized religion. You know what I mean? It's not a mega church we're talking about here. And this guy says he seems to imply that if the church took a more conservative, strict, anti gay position, the church membership would grow. I find that hard to believe too. I don't know who's clamoring for more bigotry who isn't already in that fold. So that just seems ridiculous to me. Um, and I also don't think anyone new is going to jump on board now, because the people who couldn't tell right from wrong on the simplest moral issue of our time, I don't think they have any business asking people to attend their churches in order to learn right from wrong when they don't know how to do it themselves. And by the way, I don't even know why a lot of these progressive UMC churches are staying in the fold, because while the branding of being a United Methodist Church may help retain some members drawn to the tradition, maybe your parents and grandparents were members, so you want to be a member. I happen to think more younger liberal members of the UMC churches, they're going to realize I don't need organized Christianity in my life. It's not a force for good. And they're going to walk away anyway. This isn't going to keep them there. Plus, why would you want to join a church or be part of a church that spent the past several years defending an organization that didn't officially believe in the humanity of gay people? Why would you want to be a part of this group? It's like, yeah, they did the right thing now, but for 5 years, the past 5 years, they absolutely did not. They just tolerated it. Why would you want to belong to that organization? Now, let me fight my own thoughts here, because I was looking for what defenders of the church were saying. I saw one post online that said there's a famous quotation: the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is now. So, like, better late than never. UMC is proof that even religious organizations can change. And if a denomination of this size can now accept gay clergy, maybe there's hope for the Catholic Church and Southern Baptists, eventually. I don't think that's going to change, but, you can dream. I also think, it's kind of nice watching a giant denomination implode from within, because a smaller group of churches that are united, they don't have the political power of a larger group. And there's a reason white evangelical churches, it's not a perfect analogy. They don't have like an umbrella organization over them, but they practically control one of our largest political parties. So it's not that this controversy killed off UMC churches. It kind of defanged them, though. It pressured a lot of individual churches to forge their own path forward, which means they lost the power they could have acquired with their numbers. So in that sense, I kind of appreciate the vote. It's long overdue, but it's not going to fix the existing problems. The best the UMC can hope for right now is that this vote kind of stops the bleeding. It stops the hemorrhaging. The current membership of the UMC stands at 5.4 million people as of 2022. That may just be in the United States, but that is much lower than it used to be. And the question now is, how much lower will it go? Again, if they think more people are going to join our church because of these policy position changes, I just happen to think no matter how many people you're going to gain, you're going to be losing a lot more. Some for forces outside your control, and some because you're not really doing anything to reel them in at this point. It's way too late for that. So, uh, had to talk about the UMC. I'm going to pause there and take some questions. More like they saw the writing on the wall and realized if Christianity is going to survive, their views on homosexuality need to change. I have to think that has to be a part of it, or maybe they had a pun intended come to Jesus moment on this and realize, like, if we want to be in business, we need to change what we are teaching. Turns out this stuff isn't infallible after all, you know. So listen, I wish they would acknowledge that, but even if they don't, um, yeah, I do think this is a business decision and not like Jesus spoke to them and told them to change it. If they had done this 10, 15 years ago, maybe it would make a difference. It's way too late for it to make a difference now. I've been seeing posts about this all day from Christian groups and local ministers. They're all claiming it's a sign of the end times. Love it. Love that they're upset about something that I don't think will hurt them in any real way. Haven't the Methodists been instrumental in persecuting gays and proponents of same sex marriage in African countries? The answer is yes. That's why those Methodist churches outside the United States were very much against approving LGBTQ anything, even though all the US Methodist churches were overwhelmingly in favor of it. And this is part of the schism because the UMC doesn't want to lose those African congregations that it has. But then how do you toe the line? How do you compromise on civil rights? You can't. And so, yeah, you're going to piss off a lot of these African churches by embracing gay, clergy members. But also they seem to have taken they're under the belief that, you know what, that's a risk worth taking. What are they going to do? If everyone had remained, says Den, the next morning after the vote, nothing would have changed. Members would not dramatically change. Yeah, I don't think the membership it's gonna keep going down. I don't think it's gonna go down faster, but I think it's just gonna continue on that trajectory. If they thought this is their lifesaver, this is the thing they need to do to win people back and grow their numbers, they are mistaken. Like maybe you can call me out on this if you're watching this a year from now, and we'll look at what the membership numbers are like and how many churches are in the UMC. I think both of those numbers are heading down. Some of the people I know that went to churches for community purpose were having a hard time making peace to subject their kids to all the hypocrisy and bigotry. It had become hard to ignore it all. I believe that completely. I know a lot of people who are religious, but they don't really care about the denomination. They say, oh, I got to go to church. I got to take my kids to church. I want to teach them morality. I want to give them a sense of tradition. Maybe you did it when you were growing up and you're like, I don't believe this stuff, but I kind of like the atmosphere and the environment I get there. But if you're going to like a Catholic church, for example, these days, and you're bringing your kids to it, you have to bear in mind, like, think about what the Catholic Church says about gay people who are practicing gay people and trans people and what they say about abortion and women's rights. Like, this is what you're supporting. Why would you want your kids to grow up in an environment where that sort of stuff is treated as okay? The bigotry, the sexism. Like, it's not morality anymore. You're going because you're lazy. Like, it's all you know, maybe. And I get that. And I get the community is important. But also, does it really outweigh the negatives here? I don't think it does. Did you hear the Fourth Circuit saying gender identity is protected? I feel like this was like in West Virginia or one of those cases. I could be wrong there. I think I saw a headline. Catalina, I don't know that I know more about it, but I'm glad an appellate court is saying gender identity is protected under the law. I guess the question is some Christian group going to appeal to the Supreme Court now and try to overturn that? And that could be bad. That could end very much not well. Yeah. Like and subscribe. Thanks, Den. And while I get the next story up here, let me get out of some of this stuff. Oh, we got clips for the next one. You're going to love these clips. Let me just get out of some of these. Maybe my computer will start moving faster if it doesn't have 10,000 tabs open. All right. Okay. I want to show you this headline. Okay. I'm going to show you a headline in a second from HuffPost, and not just HuffPost. There were a lot of places that posted about this. I saw so many people praising this pastor because a clip of one of his sermons went viral, and it really bothered me for reasons I will try to explain in a second. This is the headline from HuffPost. Evangelical pastor rains holy hell on Trump Bible. Blasphemous. Disgusting. And right away, you're like, who is this pastor? He's like trashing the Trump Bible from the pulpit? Good for him. You want to praise someone like that? Here's another tweet I saw about all this. This is from a progressive tweeter. A Charlotte evangelical pastor has denounced in a fiery sermon the $60 Bible that Trump sells as blasphemous and disgusting. When you don't read and pray, you say, wow, there's a Bible out now that includes the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Isn't that wonderful? No, it's disgusting. It's blasphemous. It's a ploy. Are you kidding me? Some of you are so encouraged by that. Sounds pretty good. Let's look at what another liberal says about all this. This evangelical is over Trump, calls his Bible disgusting. One more. It's disgusting. It's blasphemy. It's a ploy. Pastor Lauren Livingston wasn't mincing his words talking about Christian nationalism and the Trump Bible. One more, just for the hell of it. It's disgusting. Evangelical Pastor Lauren Livingston torches Trump's $60 mega Bible, calls it out as a ploy. Like, you guys, I'm going to show you the clip of what this guy said. And I'm here to tell you, this guy is not your friend. He is not trashing Trump. He's not even really trashing the Trump Bible. And it bothers me that so many liberals, so many progressives want to give this preacher credit. And I'm going to try to prove to you he doesn't deserve any applause here. Doesn't deserve your golf claps. Nothing like that. So let me play the first clip here and show you what's going on. Just to, in case you need a reminder, because I forgot to do it, that Trump Bible, yeah, it's $60. It includes the KJV, King James text of the Bible, which is free for anybody. It also includes text of the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, and it has the lyrics to Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA song. And Donald Trump, I think, is getting some sort of kickback from each copy sold, which is why he's promoting it, because that's the only reason he would care about the Bible. I talked about that in a previous video. You could look that up if you need to. But okay, that's what Trump is selling. And it does kind of make sense why a pastor might take this position of trashing that Bible, because it is kind of a Christian nationalist book. It's a way to sell MAGA cultists a book they're never going to read just because it sounds like something they should be proud of, right? If you're looking for a Bible, though, there are cheaper and easier ways to get one. And here's the thing. So this guy, Lauren Livingston, he is the preacher. He's a Pentecostal preacher. He's not evangelical. All right, let me show you the first clip of what this guy said, then we could talk about it.
You say, wow, there's a Bible out now that includes the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Isn't that wonderful? No, it's disgusting. It's blasphemous. It's a ploy. Are you kidding me? Some of you are so encouraged by that. Let me tell you something. The gospel is not an American gospel. It is the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay, that is the part that went viral. That's the part that you would see on TikTok. And that does sound like, all right, this guy sounds like he's trashing Trump. But again, listen to the context of what he's saying. Let me play one more clip, then it'll be easier to talk about this.
But Pastor, I bought the Bible. Really? You're telling me that you're encouraged because someone took a government, U.S. Constitution, a document that says we are of the people, by the people, and for the people, the people, the people, the people. And you have put it right beside the Word of God which is eternal, unchanging, which says, of him, by him, through him, to him, from him are all things, and you're going to put those together and be happy about it? God forbid. Now, you can get mad if you want to, but I'm going to tell you something. If you glory in that kind of thing, you don't have a prayer life. If you glory in that kind of mess, political mess, you do not know what the Word of God says.
Okay, again, maybe that sounds good to you. Here's the thing. Here's my question for you. Who is he mad at? What is he mad at? Is it the Trump Bible? Maybe, but like, is he mad at Trump? No, he's not. Is he really mad that Trump is selling a $60 Bible? No, he's not. Listening to a little more context for that speech, you could tell he is mad that there are some Christians who might not have cared about the Bible before, but now that Trump is selling it to them, and because it has these, political documents inside the book, now you care about this stuff? No, he says, you're mixing something that's eternal and coming from God with something that is political and man-made. That's what he's mad at. His basic thing is the Bible was good enough before Trump came along. Why is it suddenly good for you now? Like, why did it take Trump and putting these Christian nationalist documents inside this thing? Why did it take that for you to care about this? So he's mad at anyone watching or in the congregation who might only now be buying the Bible because it has mixed religion and politics. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to be mad about if you're a preacher, but he is not trashing the actual Trump Bible. He sure as hell is not trashing Trump. I'm sure, I would bet good money, that pastor votes for Trump. I'm sure everyone in his congregation overwhelmingly also votes for Trump. He is not anti-Trump. He is not a progressive hero in any sort of way. He's just mad that the Bible, for some people who got excited about that Trump Bible, he's mad that they only seem to care about the Bible now, when in his mind, they should have been excited about it like months ago, when it was the same text, but without the Trumpy nature, the stamp of approval on it. And if you need any more proof that this guy is not your friend, I'm going to play one more clip for you. And it comes from right before that viral moment, so you know exactly what this guy is like.
So if you don't read the Bible and if you don't have a prayer life, you will be confused about everything. People who don't read the Bible and don't pray, who call themselves Christians, get confused about the whole LGBTQ thing, because instead of looking at what the Word says, they look at how people feel and how they feel and what's doing to people. People who don't read the Bible and pray and call themselves Christians will be confused about abortion. Is it a woman's right? On and on. It's murder. It's the premeditated termination of innocent human life. That's called murder. People that don't read and pray will get politics mixed up with church. They start mixing and meshing together. That's why some of you bring politics into the church. You think that politics is spiritual stuff.
Not your friend. And again, he's mad that they're trying to shove politics with church because he thinks Christianity and the Bible is above all that. But that does not mean he doesn't want his religion influencing political issues. He's very much against LGBTQ rights. He's very much against women's rights and abortion rights. That's his logic. That's the thinking here. He wants everyone to place his version of Christianity above everything else in the world, and that includes politics, because he doesn't want to mix the spiritual with the political. He's not against Trump. He's not even against Christian nationalism as we know it. He's only mad because some Christians didn't seem to care about the Bible until Trump endorsed it. And that is a legit thing to be mad about, but people are overhyping that as if this guy is anti-Trump, anti-Christian nationalism. He is neither of those things. Stop putting this man on a pedestal, okay? Like, he is not telling his church to vote against Trump or vote against any of the issues Trumpy people care about. He's just angry for a different reason. And that stance does not make him unique among preachers. I'm just saying he doesn't deserve praise for what he said because there's nothing courageous about what he said. And I'm kind of annoyed at how many progressives are lauding this man online because they saw the first clip and they refused to watch the third one I played for you or anything like that. Let's take some questions here while I get rid of some of this stuff and do the next story in a second here. Here we go. Thank you for that donation, Catalina. They already burned that bridge long ago. And what gay person, we're talking about the United Methodist Church, what gay person wants to be a pastor and be depressed on every day, hearing everyone say that they are sinful? No kidding. Again, if you're an LGBTQ person, I don't know why you want to be part of an organization that has worked so long, so actively against your best interests. I mean, I know there are a lot of gay priests in the Catholic Church, and maybe they are serious and they swear to their vow of celibacy. But again, why would you want to be a part of that organization? I mean, I asked that rhetorically. I know what the draw is. I get why they feel compelled to do it. But again, these are not your friends. You don't have to be a part of it. If you're looking for, a group to be a part of, there are other ones online. You can find in-person communities too that are not revolving around religion. Don't be part of an organization that really doesn't want you in it or only allows you in it, years after everyone else got around to it. I'm the pastor talking about the Trump Bible. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah. And again, what I am mad about is how many progressives refuse to acknowledge that this guy is a broken clock and all you're seeing is the time of day that he's getting right. You know what I mean? They're all just like, well, this guy's great. I want to join his church. Like, no, you don't. Bad church, bad beliefs, bad people. This is not the guy you should be rooting for, even if he got this one thing right. It's like Pat Robertson when he said marijuana should be legalized and young earth creationism is dumb. Pat Robertson said both of those things, and it's like, wait, what? Huh? Do I like Pat Robertson now? The answer is no. He's right about those couple of issues, but nope, on pretty much everything else, he is still not your friend. Like, it is okay. You can just admit he's right about those things, but you got to give people the context. He's right. It's blasphemous to conflate the Bible with the idolatry of nationalism. He's still a terrible person and a bigot, but he's right on that one point. I will concede that. Yep, he's right on that one. And I wish more Christians would say, you know what? I don't want politics mixing with my religion, and then maybe they would be against Christian nationalism. Yeah. What else we got here? Any pushback on Christianity as a political identity is a good thing, in my opinion, no matter how crazy he is. So, again, this goes back to my question of, was he really pushing back on Christianity and as a political identity or the merging of those two worlds? I don't think he is, because I'm sure, I didn't look this up, I'm sure this guy preaches about why there should not be abortion rights for women and why LGBTQ people are sinners and we can't support LGBTQ rights. He's perfectly fine, I think, mixing his religion and using it to influence public policy. He's just mad that when it's the other way around and like Christianity is selling because of the politics, like, no. In his mind, his religion should influence them, but they don't get to influence us. That's his mindset. So, like, again, I don't think he's actually pushing back on Christianity as political identity because I'm sure he tells his church indirectly, if not in the illegal way, like how to vote, how to think about all these issues that are political. Thanks for that donation. Why did the police arrest the soup? It was committing wanton destruction. Didn't see that coming. I appreciate the joke. Thank you. Thanks, Den. Spend $60 for your own patriotic Bible or just hit the like button for the live stream. And if you go to that website for $60, you can subscribe for the entire year for the writing that I do that fuels all of these stories. Thanks, Den. All right, let's get to the next story here. I got two more that I wanted to talk about with you all. This one is interesting. I wish I could show you clips. I can't show you clips because they're really long. But here's the story about a principal. Um, Let me share this with you here. This is a woman named Lauren Dressback, and she is the principal of Vestavia Hills Elementary, Cahaba Heights, which is a public elementary school in Alabama. And as far as I can tell, everyone loves this woman. And not just because she's good at her job, it's because she's a lifelong product of this school district. She apparently graduated from the district. She lives in the community. She worked as a history teacher at the local high school since like 2005. She became the elementary school's principal in 2022. And according to the local news, I read that she just had her contract extended through 2026. So, lifelong product of this school district. Everyone seems to love her. The school board seems to love her. They're like, "Yeah, I know we just signed your contract, but like, stay with us for a few more years." That's awesome. That's all you could ask for. But this earlier this year, like in February, she was no longer at the school, and she sent an email to like parents of the schools saying basically, "I'm going to be on leave for a while here. If you need anything, talk to my assistant principal," something like that. And it got even weirder after that because check this out. This is an email she wrote to people in the school district in March. Let me see if I could pull this up here. Here we go. Check this out. This is from CBS 42 here. Good evening, CH parents. Cahaba Heights parents. Dressback wrote in one email to school parents on March 13th, "I have been out of the building and will be for a little while longer. Please know that if you have any immediate needs, contact the assistant principal and she will be happy to assist you." So again, think about why a principal would not be in the school anymore when it seems like everyone likes her. There's reason to think she likes them, like she likes her job. If she had done something that put students in danger, you would think the school board would have said something about that, but they haven't said anything like that. If she did something illegal, it would probably be in the news for different reasons. There's nothing like that happening. So why on earth has she not been at the school that she apparently loves for like the past 2 months? And this is the question a lot of people were trying to figure out. And what's really interesting is they had a school board meeting just this week, and uh, the members of the public who got a chance to speak at that school board meeting, they wanted to know where the hell she was as well. And this is an example of the exchange they were having. Check this out. During the public comment section of the board meeting, two people asked pointed questions regarding where Dressback was. "If I ask questions, are you obligated to answer them?" said one guy with two kids in the district. "We generally do not respond to public comments," said the board vice president. "What happened to Principal Lauren Dressback? All you can get is what your friends and what social media have done on this. She's a great teacher and principal." That's just one guy saying, like, what the hell? Tell us some information. Because if you look at the board meeting minutes, there's nothing about why she's been placed on administrative leave, even though that seems to be what happened to her. There was someone else who said, I'm going to quote here, "The action of putting Lauren Dressback on administrative leave undermines the mission of the school district." And the superintendent, Todd Freeman, said, "On the advice of my counsel and the board, we will not comment on matters related to personnel," which I know is a standard answer. But again, if you're not going to tell people anything, then it's going to fuel speculation. One thing that is interesting is we have a copy of Lauren Dressback's contract with the school district because that's a matter of public record. And this section is very interesting because it highlights when the school board could cancel the contract with her. And look at this. For the duration of this contract, the contract may be canceled for any of the reasons enumerated in state law and regulations. Number one, immorality. Then you get to regular ones. Insubordination, neglect of duty, conviction of a felony. Okay, numbers 2 through like 11 there. Totally normal, totally fine. If she's not doing the job, the school board can get rid of her. Fine. Principals have a different union than like teachers. It's a different issue. But immorality is interesting because it's never defined anywhere in here. It's basically if the school board thinks she's being immoral, they could get rid of her, I guess. But then it raises the question, what the hell did she do that was immoral, apparently? Oh, I want to share this with you too. When she was a teacher, look at this. 2015 is the dateline. Elementary, secondary teachers of the year. She was a teacher of the year in 2015 when she was a history teacher at the high school. Like, what could she possibly have done that makes all these people this upset? Right? And this is what everyone's wondering. And the only answers I've been able to find come in the form of social media. Because, and this is what I'm not going to play for you because they are really long clips. But first, there was a YouTuber, his name is Carl Julian, who basically said, and I'm paraphrasing his video here, his wife attended high school with Lauren Dressback, and he said his wife cleared it ahead of time, implying that Lauren Dressback gave his wife and him permission to talk about this. I will show you this. This is the video in case you're watching this one on YouTube and you're curious. Oh, where's Principal Dressback? So he makes this video saying, she gave me permission to talk about this. And here's what he says, basically. And this is important because this is the crux of the story as the public knows it right now because the school board's not saying anything. He says, Carl Julian says that Lauren Dressback was married to a man, but last year she came out as lesbian. And she and her husband separated, but, quote, he remains very supportive. Fine. And then in February of this year, now she's dating a woman, I guess, and she allegedly shared a picture with a friend of hers in the office, like a friendly secretary. She said, here's a picture of me and my girlfriend. And the picture is of her new girlfriend kissing her on the cheek. Totally innocuous sort of thing. And then, according to this YouTube video, someone else, maybe a staffer, maybe a custodian, saw that exchange, and all of a sudden, Lauren Dressback was placed on administrative leave because she was showing people a picture of her partner, her new partner, kissing her on the cheek. Like, it's so harmless. Straight people do that all the time, and no one thinks anything of it. It's not weird. Carl Julian also said in his video that district administrators wanted to fire her, but they have no good legal reason to do it. So right now they just kind of said, fine, we're placing you on administrative leave, maybe until they can find something to blame on her. Like maybe she filled out a timesheet incorrectly or something like that. Now, how much of that story is accurate? I don't know. I don't know because he says he is in contact with her and she gave him permission to talk about this, but local reporters said we couldn't verify that connection there. So interesting. He also said, by the way, in that video that Lauren Dressback has a lawyer. Interesting as well. Okay, number 2, on TikTok, there was another woman. Her name is Lauren Pill. She also posted a video about this same story around the same time as the YouTuber. And she said she went to high school with Lauren Dressback. And she also got permission to share the story with the public. I don't know if she has any connection to the YouTube guy. I don't know how close her bond is with the principal Lauren Dressback. She did not respond to my request for any clarification on that, but the details in her TikTok story were virtually identical. She also added, in addition to everything I just said, that Lauren Dressback was escorted out of the school when the superiors, the administrators, learned about her new girlfriend. In fact, she said, someone may have filmed her showing the picture of her girlfriend to her colleague in the office. And the situation was so bad, Lauren Pill said, that Dressback literally had to ask the district permission to step on school property so she could watch her high school son's track meet. That's how much she's banned from stepping foot on campus right now. So again, how much of that is true? I wish I knew. But the bottom line is that Dressback was the teacher of the year when she was married to a guy. And now she's placed on administrative leave soon after she begins dating a woman. And Alabama has one of those don't say gay bills. And they're actually right now thinking about a more restrictive one that's going through the legislature. But if district officials think that's going to protect what they're doing here, I don't know that that's necessarily true. Because those don't say gay bills, there's no indication that Lauren Dressback discussed or shared her orientation with any kids. And I don't think it would be wrong if she did. since other teachers talk about their spouses all the time. But the point is, she didn't do that. So they can't really get her on that. Lauren Pill, the TikTok woman, she also said in a separate video that Lauren Dressbeck has been contacted by a federal investigator with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. So maybe the feds are getting involved in this. That could be interesting too, if the government files a lawsuit on her behalf. So again, I don't know how much of this is true because the people who have the answers are not talking, them being the school board, and Lauren Dressbeck has kind of disappeared from social media as well. But if any of these allegations are accurate, it's a really disturbing message that a staffer's harmless personal revelation overrides her actual abilities and work history. It seems like this school district would rather see a shitty straight principal than a stellar lesbian one. And that should concern not just the people who work at that district, but the parents and the students who go there. I'll stop there for now. What other questions we got here? Educators have been fired for social media photos of wearing bathing suits on vacation. Same with dining photos with alcohol on the table. Yeah, I mean, it's a scary time to be an educator who also has a life outside of school, and then sharing it. And again, like, yeah, you have a union and there are some protections for teachers. Principals have a different situation, but yeah, I mean, I as a former public school teacher, I've gone through orientations where they warn us, like, it's not that they're going to fire you for drinking wine or something like that, but it's always be very careful what you post on social media because they don't want it to become a hassle for the district. This is why we need stronger worker protections. It's ridiculous that employers are able to intrude on their workers' personal lives. Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you. And again, I don't know what protections she has. I hope she has a good lawyer. I hope she has that EEOC agent on her side here. That would be great if that's accurate, but we'll find out soon enough, I guess. I'll try to keep tabs on the story. Thank you. Yes, please like and subscribe. I appreciate that. I got one last story for you, and then I'm going to call it for tonight. But this story, did you all know today is the National Day of Prayer? Yeah, it is. And I'm sure you all celebrated. And if you don't know the National Day of Prayer, it's basically an evangelical run event to celebrate, prayer, but really it's their version of Christianity. And Republicans celebrate it because they want to impose conservative Christianity upon the whole country. And many Democrats go along with it because they don't know any better. And some mayors and city officials also honor the day because it just feels like the right thing to do. And that is what happened in the town of London, Kentucky. It's just south of Lexington. And this is what Mayor Randall Weddle has been promoting for like a month now. Let me show you this. This is on the mayor's website. Mayor's Prayer Breakfast with Mayor Randall Weddle and the City of London. An opportunity for our community to come together over breakfast and join in prayer for our city and its leaders. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Why is the city using their website and their resources to promote prayer as if it's a good thing? They should not be promoting prayer. They should not be promoting religion. They should not be promoting a specific religion. But that really is what a prayer breakfast is all about. Like, I promise you, I don't have any details about what happened this morning at 7:00. My God, who's going at 7:00? I promise you there was not a giant array of Muslim leaders leading the prayers in London, Kentucky. There was no humanist chaplain present there. You know what I mean? This is a Christian event. And the thing is, they were doing this all over social media. This is Facebook, April 16th. Join us May 2nd for the prayer breakfast. There's the same banner. Wait a minute. They did it again on April 19th. Here's another one. Free tickets if you want to come to the prayer breakfast. Oh, wait. Here's another one from yesterday. Like, they've been pushing this forever. And I think this part is the funniest one. Whether or not prayer is your practice, we're thrilled to share a meal with you and foster community growth and unity. What unity are you going to find when you're promoting religion, which is inherently divisive? I don't know, but this is what the city is doing. Um, and again, I just want to point out that you can't do this as a city. You can't do this as a mayor. If he wants to waste his time when he's off the clock, that's his business, but he cannot use the city's resources to promote religion. That is basically what the law says. It's also bizarre uh, that the city said we want the entire community to unite in prayer, not just because you can't unite in prayer. Prayer is divisive, but there's no way this entire community is religious. Like I promise you, even in rural America, you are not going to find a city with 100% Christians. Like there are other people there and they don't appreciate this. So a couple weeks ago, the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent the city a letter. Uh, it's a standard letter about all this, basically saying, we saw all those things you posted. Hey, buddy, you can't be doing this. I want to point out a couple things in this letter. First, a concerned community member informs us that you're hosting this mayor's breakfast. Why is that important? FFRF did not seek this stuff out. Someone who lives in the community told FFRF, hey, my mayor is doing this. Can you do something about it? FFRF wrote a letter on that community member's behalf. And notice what they say here, right here. We ask that you refrain from participating in a sectarian event in your official capacity. We also ask that the city refrain from promoting a sectarian event. All of that makes sense. Yeah, like they're not saying don't pray. You can pray on your own time. They're not saying your church can't do it. If Mayor Weddle's church decided to host a prayer breakfast today, that's fine. And if the mayor wants to attend that thing, he'll take off his mayor hat and just show up to the prayer breakfast. That's fine too. What you can't do is use the city to promote your religion. And you can't have the mayor promoting it. And that is what's going on here. So everything in this letter makes sense. And again, look at what it's saying here. We ask that the city drop its support for this divisive evangelistic vision for America and cease holding a National Day of Prayer event. The city and its government officials have a constitutional obligation to religious neutrality. This obligation is violated when the city coordinates and promotes an exclusionary National Day of Prayer. Hey, let us know what you're going to do. We're standing here. Let us know. I hope you fix this. That's from Hirsch Joshi, who is a legal fellow with the FFRF. And again, totally fine. That letter makes perfect sense. How did the mayor handle it? Well, he did not take it very well, because I will just show you this quick screen grab right here. The mayor posted this video on the city's website, uh, and he basically said, these people, I'm not going to play the thing for you because you could see from the bottom, this goes on for over 4 minutes. But this guy, he literally raised FFRF's letter. He's like, these people sent me this letter and I'm very mad about it. Let me paraphrase a couple of the things he said in this thing. He said, he's going to push through with the prayer breakfast anyway. I'm going to quote a couple things. He said, before I become mayor, small groups has always attacked me. They're always constantly trying to place their political desires or gain over what's good for our community. Like, first of all, no one is attacking you. They're telling you you're making a mistake and trying to get you to not make the mistake. You should be thanking them. And also, who's putting their political desires over what's good for the community? That's what you're doing. This is all projection. He's like, FFRF is trying to push its agenda on. No, that's you. You're the dude doing that. He said later on, as Americans, we have the right to assemble and we have the right to pray over our community. And like, yeah, you do in your capacity as a private citizen. No one's stopping a church from hosting a prayer breakfast. No one's stopping the mayor from going to that prayer breakfast. Again, you can't do it using the city's resources. He also said, this is a big one, as a community, us coming together and us praying as a whole, we all know that without faith, our community would be lost. Like, what? Come on. Without faith, you would have nothing. No, not everyone in your community belongs to a faith. And how dare you insult atheists in the name of community unity? Like, what the hell are you doing? He said, in this letter, it demands that we don't have this prayer meeting. It demands we don't assemble ourselves together in our faith. It demands that my office stop this. Like, 1 for 3. They can have a prayer meeting. They can assemble. People in the town are free to do whatever the hell they want, but the city can't promote it. Again, he then says, I'm a mayor for all the people that live in London. Yeah, that's why you shouldn't be doing this. He says, we will not cave to the demands of individuals who do not live here. Like, oh my God, I hate this argument whenever it's used against FFRF. Like, they're not attacking you on a whim. They're literally responding to someone who lives in London, Kentucky, who wrote to them and basically said, like, I can't speak out because they'll crucify me. So maybe you all can write a letter on my behalf. And they did. So they are acting on behalf of someone in your city. And then at the end here, Weddell said, one small group or one radical ideal will not stop us, because here we understand the importance of faith and we understand the importance of prayer. To which I just want to know, who is we? He seems to think everybody is Christian, everyone's the same kind of Christian. Like, no, the problem is you seem to think that the people who share your beliefs represent everybody. They don't. They literally don't. That's why this is a letter. And then he said at the end, London, this is a time that we come together as a community, and this is a time that we stop that little small group from controlling what the masses does. And it's like, no one's controlling you. Also, what do you think the Bill of Rights is other than protecting a minority from the tyranny of the majority? Like, FFRF is representing the minority, and you have no business imposing your religious will upon all of them. Like, I would love to know how many non-Christian groups were involved in the prayer breakfast this morning, because I think, like so many Day of Prayer events, non-Christians are considered an afterthought or a never thought or whatever. Like, maybe you have a token here and there, but this has always been a celebration of conservative Christianity. That's why government involvement in this sort of event is so dangerous. And I would just say, last couple things here. This guy, using his hat as mayor, has promoted religion over and over. This is his Facebook page as mayor. And look at this. This is Easter reminds us of Jesus Christ's resurrection from the tomb, a cornerstone of faith that offers us all the promise of new beginnings. Like, again, put it on your personal page. Why are you using the mayor's page to do it? He did it before Christmas. Christmas is a celebration of love and kindness, epitomized by the birth of Jesus Christ. He did it in March again. Today, on Good Friday, we pause to reflect on the profound sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Like, buddy, do it on your own time. Stop using your title to do this. And I will leave you with one last thing here, because May 4th, not because it has the Star Wars connotation there, may the 4th be with you, but because it's right after the National Day of Prayer, Congress members Jamie Raskin and Jared Huffman, who founded the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, they just introduced this resolution for the National Day of Reason. And I just want to share a couple things here. May 4th, 2024, you could see, let's designate that the National Day of Reason, recognizing the central importance of reason and the betterment of humanity. And look at this. Whereas the application of reason has been the essential precondition for humanity's extraordinary scientific, medical, technological, and social progress since before the founding of the United States. This goes on for a while. This is actually copy-pasted from a few years. This has been going on for years. Democrats have been pushing the symbolic resolution for years. But if you look through this, look at that. There we go. Whereas America's founders insisted upon the primacy of reason and knowledge in public life, they wanted to prevent the official establishment of religion to protect freedom of thought, speech, and inquiry in civil society. The last bit here. We encourage all citizens, residents, and visitors to join in observing this day and focusing on the central importance of reason, critical thought, the scientific method, and free inquiry to resolving social problems and promoting the welfare of humankind. I know you can't see that last bit. There it is. But like, yeah, that sounds really nice. It's inclusive of everybody. I mean, I can't understand why any religious person would be against it. Are they saying like, what? You're saying I support reason? How dare you? There will be no critical thought. coming from me, like that one's inclusive. That one's not saying let's shut out people who are religious. You don't see anything disparaging of religion in there. But the day of prayer events all over the country are very excluding of non-Christians and non-believers. All right, I'm going to stop there. I'll take some last questions, but I think that's it for today. Doesn't the White House or the Congress have a monthly prayer breakfast? You know what? I don't know about monthly, but they did have a congressional prayer breakfast. Usually Joe Biden says something. I mean, the president, whoever it is, says something too. Like, I wish they wouldn't. I get why they feel obligated to do so, but I wish more members of Congress would recognize this is not like a generic day of prayer. This is a conservative Christian event. You don't have to promote it for them. I don't know if you hear the rain. It's raining outside where I'm at right now. Any other questions here? Cool. Support the channel, patreon.com/Hemant, or go to friendlyatheist.com. You could subscribe for free, but I appreciate it if you become a subscriber as well. Thank you to Den for helping me out with everything today. Thank you for watching on a Thursday and not a Friday. I should be back Friday of next week, so I'll see you at the usual bat channel, bat time. Have a good weekend. That's all. I'm going to close this.